Just for everybody listening in, just so that you know, I'm recording this for YouTube, so setting that up takes a second, and then I need to turn off the volume, otherwise it blares at you, and we don't want that happening. Okay, so welcome everybody to our next webinar in our row of webinars. Today, hopefully very topical for all of you, ready to be opening up again. Will hygiene kill sustainability? There is a lot of talk about it. Obviously, there's also a lot of headlines about single-use plastics coming back massively because people feel it's safer. So we thought we would take a deep dive and analyze some of that. I think I need to make another disclosure here at this point, is that obviously we are not medical experts. We have taken the recommendations and the measures out there by governments and various industry bodies, and we've analyzed them. I have been to various hotels that have opened up already here in Germany. I've spoken to a lot of hoteliers and fellow sustainability experts, and that's the information we've gathered and put together for today's webinar. Kate's done a lot of research. And I think the key here to emphasize is that we as hoteliers, we can only engage in risk reduction. We cannot do risk removal. And I think that has got to be our sort of mantra in all of this. We can do our best. We can tell our guests that we're doing our best, but everybody who steps outside their door in this time and age at the moment is taking a risk effectively, if you look at it like that. If you're going shopping or you're taking a train, and if you're staying at a hotel. So all we can do is we can do our best at reducing that risk. So, and we shouldn't turn our hotels into hospitals because that's not what they're there for. We shouldn't turn our staff into medical staff either. We just need to ensure that we are keeping up to date and that we are all doing our best. So it should also not become an arms race to hygiene standards where everybody's running out and saying, I'm doing more and I'm doing better. And that's not the point. Let's stay sensible, let's stay pragmatic. Research done by one of the hotel groups I was speaking to the other day showed that about 60% of what makes the guest feel safe is all psychological. So it's about building that trust, and how do I build that trust is communicating. So being transparent and communicating. So without further ado, I think let's dive in, Kate, and I will hand over to you for the next slide.
Perfect, thank you, Sonia. So just a little bit more then on the background, really, that Xenia's already explained. Obviously, hospitality businesses are either reopening already or are making plans to reopen. And there's a whole host of different requirements and protocols to be taking on board at the moment in terms of cleaning, hygiene, social distancing, staff wellness, rebuilding public confidence. There's so many different things to take into account. But we don't want to go backwards on sustainability. A lot of progress has been made into these new procedures and protocols as we are reopening and putting new things in place. Just to expand a little bit more on the specific environmental problems that we're talking about, it's been estimated that consumption of single-use plastic has increased by 250 to 300% in the United States alone since coronavirus took hold over there. And that consumption comes from increased PPE, so from masks, visors, gloves, also from an increase in the amount of online deliveries that people have been ordering during this time, and the associated packaging and waste that comes with that. Coupled with that increase in consumption is also an unfortunate decrease in the amount of recycling that is happening, or has been happening certainly, which could be due to concerns around contamination, or possibly just that there are other concerns more prominent, so people that usually recycle are perhaps not recycling as much. All in all, it's leading to a lot more waste, which is an area that obviously beforehand was certainly going down. The need for regular hand washing further highlights the disparities between those countries that have clean running water and those that have restrictions in that area, and also poses questions around water availability in the future. And lastly, obviously cleaning is very much front of mind, cleaning and hygiene, and there is a bit of a rush towards some more aggressive cleaning chemicals to ensure that COVID is being kept under control. But cleaning chemicals such as bleach and ammonia can be dangerous to the health and also can contribute to indoor air pollution. So there are other options. It's not necessary to go for the most aggressive cleaning chemicals in order to tackle the virus.
Yeah, indeed. I think, you know, alcohol-based products are really the way forward on this one. Okay, so guidelines. Yeah, there are obviously, you know, multiple guidelines out there. Different organizations, World Health Organization is the one that it gets obviously quoted and looked at most, and that's the way it should be. So the WTTC has also put together some measures that hotels should adopt. Again, risk assessment is an essential place to start, and I guess having a strategy, a hygiene strategy, how to go about it. Sitting down, I guess those of you opening up next week, they've already got that. So this is just really taking a step back on where we are. There is obviously flexibility with those regulations. Again, it's for your own sort of interpretation on them. Some hotel companies have taken over 300 new measures. You can also get those certified when you send in your measures to somebody like Bureau Veritas. They will certify you against what you've put in. Again, it depends on the size of your hotel and just being sensible and then communicating those properly, and which you can incorporate.
So the key is bearing in mind that we are a creative industry who can adapt procedures fit. The industry is very used to adapting to market conditions, to changes in consumer demands. So we are able to adapt our procedures and protocols to fit the situations they're in and to incorporate both sustainability and the cleaning requirements. What is essential, Xenia has already mentioned, is communication with guests and with staff, and also very clear and thorough training for staff to ensure that they feel confident and clear on what they're expected to do, and that guests also understand what is being done and how they can do their bit. I just wanted to include this short video here, which I love, from City to Sea, who are a not-for-profit organisation who work to stop plastic pollution. It's just a short video which just shows how you can adapt procedures, make them very simple, and which can then be protecting against the virus, but also continuing to be sustainable. I love that. So continuing then on the on similar lines, there's recently been a document that scientists have signed, a number of scientists from a number of different countries have signed and submitted to say that reusable containers are no more likely to increase the risk of transmission than disposable or single-use containers. There was obviously a lot of concern at the beginning that it would increase the risk, and hence why certain cafes and businesses stopped accepting reusable cups, etc. But it's been shown that there is no additional increase in risk as long as basic hygiene is undertaken, both with hand washing and with washing the containers on a regular basis. The risk of touching a disposable cup is the same as touching a reusable cup. Obviously limiting contact between people, between staff and guests, between different members of staff, and also eliminating or reducing, the amount of times that surfaces are touched is only going to be beneficial for further reducing risk and creating a confidence amongst both staff and guests and customers.
Yeah, and as an example on that, one of the hotels that I went to here in Germany the other day, when they were saying, you know, sometimes they offer guests little bits of food in the rooms, and rather than leaving them open, which is how they presented it before, on a little plate with, for example, 3 macarons, they now use those flip top glass jars where they put things in, so it's safely sort of covered, nobody can get in touch with it, and yet you're not putting cling film or something horrible on it. So again, thinking about how you can use those containers to present things. Sorry, Kate, that just came up.
That's okay.
In my mind. So let's move on to the reception.
Over to you again.
Yeah. Can you move on to the, yeah, exactly. So the reception, we thought we'd start with the reception because that's where you walk into the hotel. So obviously a lot of them have now put up those glasses to protect you, and that can still allow you as a host, as a hotelier, as a receptionist, to smile at your guests, because that's what people are used to. You walk in and you get a nice smile from the people working at the hotel. So if you are a single person working behind a reception, then you don't have to wear a mask. If you have enough reception space so you can keep the distancing, again, you don't have to wear a mask. It's only when there's not enough reception, then the people working behind the desk do have to wear masks. So again, think about how you man that desk. Obviously think about digital check-in and check-out, because that reduces time spent there and also reduces exchange. You can still welcome your guests friendly without having to do the check-in. If you have sort of peak times also for checkout or check-in, it's quite useful to turn the lobby to have a sort of one-way system where people know how they can sort of move within that, or potentially sort of have different entrance and exit. And then also the depositing of the luggage outside the rooms, something to think about and how to do it if you are using the if you are carrying your staff's luggage.
Okay. So then for housekeeping, the essential areas we were thinking about mainly with housekeeping is removing as many things as you can from the room, essentially, so that there is a decreased risk of contamination and also a decreased need for cleaning of the items. So removing any non-essential amenities, any in-room collateral, menus, etc. Lots of hotels seem to be replacing them with a QR code, which is a very effective way of still being able to access the menu. You can have the items on demand at reception, for example. Also only putting the number of towels in the room for the number of people staying, to avoid the need to be washing towels that may not have been used. Offering non-cleaning of rooms during stay, which again reduces the risk of contamination and also reduces water use, etc. And there's also been some reports where guests are being encouraged to take disinfectant wipes with them to be cleaning these areas that are regularly touched, like light switches, door handles. Obviously, we can't prevent people from bringing those with them, but the more that we can communicate with the guests about what we are doing and the way that we are cleaning these areas anyway, will hopefully discourage that use from being happening too much.
Yeah, and also in regards to the offering of the non-cleaning of the rooms, obviously you offer it in a friendly way and you say, look, we're happy to give you a voucher for whatever your favorite drink, or if you're staying for 4 or 5 days or whatever, let's just reduce that cleaning down because our staff is busy having to comply with the new measures, and you would help us enormously. It's just a friendly way of saying, let's try and all do this the best we can, and not saying we won't clean your room, obviously. So yeah, food service, again, contactless room service, obviously with trays left outside your room. I also had a chat with a hotelier in Berlin the other day, and they did takeaway, again, in very nice reusable sort of containers. Also they even did takeaway when they were closed for guests in the area. Not pre-arranging the tables with the cutlery necessary when they're not being used, but when the guest arrives, you then lay it. So there's again, you're reducing the risk of anybody else touching it. Potentially bringing, the olive oil and the salt on request rather than having them there, because again, then you would have to clean them even more. And maybe you're not using tablecloths and finding some nice placemats, which can be wiped off easily, is also another idea. And potentially what I had, or in a lot of the hotels, what they're doing here is slots. So slots for breakfast, slots for dinner, so that the hotel can cater everybody, offer them timings that accommodates everybody rather than trying to squeeze everyone in at the same time. Staff. Sorry, Kate, I stole your slide. I just realized.
It's my slide, but that's okay.
Sorry. Looking after our staff, key. Yes, obviously, you know, the people we do need to try and reduce or remove risk for is obviously our staff as much as possible. We are responsible for them. So again, communicating and training at all stages is really important. Those that can work from home, I guess, continue offering it to them. Mental health support should be available. Obviously, a lot of people finding it difficult. So what can we offer them? Do we have a daily check-in where we're checking on everybody who's doing okay? Do we put a mentor in charge of people that are not doing okay? Making sure that they stick to the regular hygiene things. And again, back of house needs to be taken care of as much as front of house. And that's the one thing I think we really need to stress as hoteliers. Our guests are important, but our staff is even more important in a way. So we need to look after them. We need to make sure they're safe. And if we can potentially have the budget to provide tests for our staff, if somebody's not feeling well and the NHS is not providing it, or whichever country you're in, might be something to look at.
So PPE, protective equipment, obviously there's been a huge increase in this, and unfortunately there's also been an increase in the amount of it that's not been disposed of properly. So there have been masks, gloves, etc. found in the streets, found in the oceans as well. And so in terms of protecting staff when necessary, when staff require face masks, there are plenty of options of reusable and washable face masks that can be provided rather than the disposable kind, which are clearly going to create a lot of waste. And there's designer ones, there's particularly eco-friendly ones made from recycled materials. You can get them branded. There's a whole other industry almost that seems to have sprung up with reusable face masks. So there's certainly no shortage of those to look for to protect your staff. And in terms of gloves, limit the use of gloves where possible. Encouraging more regular hand washing is definitely key, or using cotton gloves, reusable gloves when possible, which can be washed and reused, is also only just going to reduce the waste that's incurred.
Yeah, so how do we communicate with our guests? Obviously, I mentioned that at the beginning, so that they feel comfortable and they feel they can trust our measures, what we're doing. So pre-arrival information should include various items on, you know, do remember to bring your own masks. Have you been tested? If you have, share your results if you feel comfortable. You know, a lot of airlines are potentially asking that too, and some governments are. So if they have that information, maybe they want to share it. And really explain how our new operations are being run, so there are no unpleasant surprises, as it were, for the guests. And remind them that we are all in this together and we're doing our utmost best to make their stay wonderful, but that these times are a little bit difficult. So that also show you our own vulnerability in the sense of we are not perfect, but we're really working on it and we're doing our best. And communicate on all your social media channels, on your website. Make sure that that is constantly updated and coherent and reflects the message on all those channels.
So a couple of notes about cleaning in general. We've already mentioned risk assessment will be part of what every property is doing before they are reopening, and many of you will undoubtedly have done that already. Every area of the property needs to be assessed separately, and there'll be different cleaning requirements, different considerations for different areas. There are a range of many hand sanitizers and stands available for the touchless dispensing of hand sanitizer. I particularly love the one in the image here from Delphis Eco, as it's made from 100% recycled materials, the stand itself, and the sanitizer they use has a reduced use of hazardous substances and it's biodegradable. So there's lots of different hand sanitizers you can choose, and there are some more sustainable options. Cleaning products, again, as we've already mentioned, there are many available which will protect against COVID, but do not contain so many of the dangerous chemicals to health and to indoor air quality. Again, Delphis Eco have a range which is great. Xenia has already mentioned that there's a number of alcohol-based cleaning products which can be used as well. There's no need to have to bleach everything, not at all. And then for cloths, use microfiber cloths or a reusable cloth which can be used, which can be washed many times. It doesn't need to be thrown away after every use. And I also quite like these cool sanitizer ovens, which can be used to sanitize keys, key cards and remote controls. So you can put in, I think, 20 or 30 at a time. And you can sanitize all kinds of keys in there. So it can be actual key cards, plastic key cards, but also normal physical keys, wooden key cards, etc. So that prevents the need for extra cleaning and decreases the risk of other contamination from these sort of removable items that are quite frequently touched.
And you don't need to put your remote control into a plastic sleeve. Thank you very much.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So what everybody hopefully wants to avoid is not to let clean washing become the new greenwashing. So it would be very easy to go all out. And whilst obviously we do need to be taking into account these extra protocols and extra requirements, it's important to be clear and consistent about what you're doing and to be communicating transparently. And as we've already mentioned, the way that things are done so that it's very clear for everybody what is happening. And it's also important to communicate more than just hygiene, because guests are not going to come and stay with you only because you are clean. There's more to consider than that. So also taking into account general wellness and sustainability is going to be key to be encouraging guests to come back and to stay with you and to regain that trust so that they are comfortable. Over to you, Zenia.
Yes. So, what other areas can we consider when it comes to reopening at the moment? So obviously we might have increased costs now with reopening and having to pay more for cleaning. So please remember, energy consumption can be reduced. There are very many sort of low-hanging fruits. Energy costs can be saved. So remember to, when you're training your staff, include that, and when they're washing their hands, not to always let the tap running. So keep thinking about your resources and how you can save money when you're managing those efficiently. Responsible purchasing, again, looking at our supply chains, bringing them back to local levels so that we avoid disruption and are more in control as to what we've got and where it's coming from. Looking into green spaces, if we are looking at what is our building allowing us to add on as green spaces? Can we have a green wall? Can we have a green roof? Can we have some more areas outside to sort of improve that and improve the environment and improve the air quality effectively, because that filters the air. And then just general well-being. Again, air quality, and that's something, Juliet, that you mentioned in your article yesterday in the Telegraph. The colleague from the ranch in California mentioned it also, is they've got somebody monitoring the air quality in the rooms. So that's something I think that will be coming up more and more. There's companies doing that increasingly. So those are areas to look into as well.
And then just a note on accreditations. So there's a couple of UK accreditations that have come out in the last few weeks. So We're Good to Go, which has been the official UK mark from Visit Britain, and also the AA COVID-19 Confident mark. So these are both self-assessments, which essentially talk you through the government guidelines to ensure that you've covered all the key points, and that you have a risk assessment, that you have a relevant person, that you've considered all of the aspects for your business. They're all free to go through, and then you get a certificate at the end. Many large brands, Hilton and Accor, have sort of created their own labels with other companies. So Accor has partnered with Bureau Veritas to create this All Safe label, which is an internal label for them, but essentially comes from the Bureau Veritas guidelines. And Hilton have partnered with a cleaning company to have this Clean Stay label. And then we also have HRS has partnered with SGS, which is another inspection and verification company, to create this clean and safe protocol. So there is both a self-assessment there and also an inspected version, which they have. So that's, you can do one or the other, and then you have a badge that comes up on their booking platform. So if you've got corporate bookers that are looking for hotels and they're looking for ones that have this protocol, it will be there listed on their site. So there's a few different things to consider depending on your reasoning for it. But yeah, there's a lot of accreditations, and I'm sure there will be also more and more coming out.
Yes, I like this slide. Communication. It's back, it's back to what I said before. But I think what's also actually an interesting one is if you can get medical advice, if you can join up with hotels in your region, or you are part of a hotel association that is a bigger trade association, potentially go and find scientific advice upon which you can act, and that will bring your guests' trust back even more, where you just say, okay, we've taken advice, we've applied this to our operations, so we feel safe in what we're doing. You share that information, and any kind of information that you're doing. Again, transparency being so key here, as well as it is on sustainability always. As I said before, regular updates, make sure that also your staff has access to webinars that will give them regular updates so that they can communicate and feel safe about what they're communicating. And maybe just, integrate your staff more into the communication, do little videos where you show your guests what you're doing and who's in charge of what at the hotel. I think this is a time, any crisis is a time to become creative and rethink about things. And staff have usually the best ideas. So integrate their messaging into your messaging as a hotel company or as a hotel, because that will make your message just so much more credible. And this is a crisis about people as well as it is about the environment. So that all needs to be integrated into the bigger picture.